Get started, I'll quickly tell you folks a little bit about Vimo for those of you who don't know us. Vimo operates in the sales enablement slash CRM space, and we help financial enterprises across the globe accelerate the sales funnel and improve partner relations and engagements. Now, Vimo does three things really well. That firstly, being a mobile first platform, we are able to automatically capture all your sales engagement activities. And these data, since it's being automated, it's accurate and also reliable. Now, once you have a lot of data into the system, it becomes easy to understand. Our intelligence engine understands what your top quartile reps are doing. What are the winning behaviors that they're following? When are they calling people? And what are their day-to-day activities? And nudges these winning behaviors across your sales teams and your organization to improve overall productivity. We work closely with over 60 plus leading banks and insurance companies such as Generali, AIA, AXA, FA Credit in Vietnam, and Berkshire Hathaway in the US. So yeah, I mean, to tell you a bit about the topic we'll be discussing today, right? We have seen digital transformation come at the forefront for every IT head or top management insurance company. But what was earlier considered to be as a nice to have, COVID has showed us that digital is not only a nice to have anymore; it is something mandated. It is not about building the edge in the market space, but it is required for your day-to-day operations. And today we are going to talk about exactly that. There are countless examples, how digital transformation has, rapidly changed the insurance landscape in India, be it from streamlining operations or, customer interactions that are done via chats, claim processing, and so on. But broadly, we can categorize the main goals of digital transformation into four buckets. These four buckets are efficiency, offering personalized customer experience journey, being agile in your innovations, and of course, managing scale. But for major insurance companies across Southeast Asia and India, digital transformation loosely translates to getting rid of legacy IT systems or converting all your physical operations into a digital mode. But this more often than not just complicates from the main goal of digital transformation. The trick over here is not to get too overwhelmed. You don't have to make the transition all in one fall sweep, but rather we can do an iterative and agile process to it. So that is what we have Alap here to talk to us today about. To quickly introduce Alap, who is our guest today. Alap drives the digital innovation and distribution strategy for Future Generali India Life Insurance Corporation. Now, this is Generali Insurance's joint venture in India with the Future Group. Now, Alap has a very nice saying that is, technology is a perception and one has to have it right to resonate it for success. One not adopting with the changing time cannot ride the progress, says Alap. He himself is a technology enthusiast and a digital transformation professional with Generali. And he has over 11 years of cross-industry experience. And this comes both with a blend of consumer marketing and digital landscape. And joining Varun today, driving the conversation from Vimo, we have Varun Ravichandran, who is our head of industry solutions at Vimo. And as part of his role, Varun drives industry initiatives where we interact with stakeholders like Alap from the insurance community and also enable this knowledge sharing among you and our other community partners. So Varun, Alap, it's really great having you here. Can I request you to switch on your video, please?
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Gunjan.
No worries.
And thanks a lot for joining, Alap.
It's great to have you. And just wanted to check if my video and audio are pretty much good.
We can hear you and see you clearly, Alap.
We can see, yeah, worked great.
So yeah, I mean, we had initially we did plan to have Roshan on board, but his vaccination slot just opened up this morning and he had to rush over there. So Varun, thanks a lot for filling in. But I think this is a good icebreaker, right? I mean, are you both vaccinated or like when do you plan on?
Yes, I got my second shot 2 weeks back, so I'm fully vaccinated. Yeah.
Oh, I'm 2 weeks away from the. I'm 2 weeks away from the second shot.
Oh, so this looks like Bangalore is leading from Mumbai right now.
Right.
Anyway, I won't
Ahmedabad, right? Alap is in Ahmedabad right now, isn't it? Yeah.
Correctly. Geography doesn't matter today.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Correct.
Well, great. I won't take too much of your time now. Varun, Alap, over to you to take the discussion forward.
So thank you, Gunjan. So thanks a lot for joining again, Alap. I was looking forward to talking about digital transformation that you're driving at Future Generali, and for our audience to sort of learn from your experience and what you have to share. But before we jump into the deep end with questions, I just wanted to start by understanding how has the last year and a half been, both for you personally, but also so in terms of driving digital transformation at Future Generali, right? I mean, this has been a very transformational place. I mean, so how has the general experience been the last year and a half?
It's been great. Year and a half, we haven't been to the office. So starting from, if you are aware of how Mumbai works, that your day only starts by, running to catch a train, right? And that too, with all the struggle in the morning, you be in the office and then the entire day goes into the work. That's been missing. And that's been missing for almost 4.5 years now. Having said that, how that we have evolved in past those 18 months, we have seen a complete transformation. The things which we thought, life insurance, right? But have you ever thought, I mean, the first instance when you are exposed to a life insurance agency, I speak more from an India context, that one of the relatives, one of those known, friends in the family would come to your parents, and they, he or she would then propose saying that, why isn't your son insured? Have you taken any policy? That's how it starts, right? Meaning that it has been, we were all convinced, and that's what we have seen growing up, that if it is about life insurance, it is about a life insurance agent. There has to be an agent who would come, explain, come for a multiple of number of times, and then at the end of it, we would end up buying a life insurance policy. Imagine the agent is not there in front of you. You can't meet people. You can't step out. Nobody can come see you. In that entire context, with living with the fear of COVID all across, all around you, you now want to buy life insurance policy. How do you do it? And that's where the entire the evolution started. So probably when we speak further in this session, we would kind of try and touch upon that, what all we did and what all the challenges and how the digital transformation took really place. Let's begin.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect place to start, right? So you spoke about the fact that life insurance, which was something that is driven very much by human sort of agent interaction, has now almost overnight moved into a digital first sort of mode. So how has this shifted the way you're looking at distribution strategy itself at Generali, right? So firstly, what does it mean for the business itself? What needs to change? What will still remain the same? And what are the ways in which that will impact the way you're looking at digital sort of transformation strategy?
The most important thing, I believe, is that what changed, and it really needed efforts, and it will continue to require have that effort, is the change of mindset. We are all attuned towards a way of conducting business in the life insurance field. As I said, that the leaders and the entire community were really not sure whether we can sell insurance, whether we can sell life insurance via a digital platform. Now, when we say that selling a life insurance policies online, we are seeing various mixes or various modes or models of business, picking up in this past a couple of months. Not that they were not existing earlier, but the real essence or the real flair which we got to see in the past 18 months. Like all of a sudden, when India went under demonetization, we had seen the digital transactions just zooming up, right? In a very similar fashion, all of the transformation projects, all of the scopes. Now, let's talk about the COVID or a pre-lockdown time. The only transformational project that we were kind of focusing more was in terms of probably on the bits and pieces, right? We were not looking at the overall entire business journey. We had transformations, we had digital transformations through probably some of the RPAs. We had digital transformations coming through probably at some point of time in some amount of automation in the backend process.
Yeah.
Did we before COVID, before the lockdown, did we look at it in terms of can we also have a digital transformation coming in for the entire value chain? Yes, there are certain companies and they have been advanced in, they've been leading the digital transformation space in the entire insurance industry. However, in general, if we talk about for the larger set of companies, they had their challenges, and be it anything, be it resource crunch, budget crunch, be it the what you call the thought process, be it the overall company alignment. And 18 months, what we saw is that everything is changing.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a very famous meme which goes around, or rather it used to go around before some time, that who brought the digital transformation. Earlier there would be a constant fight between the who takes the credit, be it CEO, be it CMO, be it CTO, or a chief strategist, right? But probably the one which took away the credit was COVID, right? The one which starts with the same letter. So that is how it has been. So digital transformation is started in its own glory post the lockdown.
Yeah. So I think a lot of the sort of preconditions for digital transformation were there, and the trends were moving in that direction, but just to get the alignment across functions and just to sort of accelerate it and make it happen. So I think this was that trigger point, isn't it? So you mentioned that with the move to digital, it is now you have these user journeys for life insurance sales, for example, which have a combination of digital and physical sort of touch points. I mean, so is that what you are seeing as well? What is a typical sort of user journey looking like now? A sort of purchasing journey looking like now versus what it was, say, pre the digital transformation and pre-COVID? And where are the sort of human touch points which can add the most value as part of the digital process?
So a lot of companies, including ours, saw going digital. In the early days of the lockdown, we at Future Generali, we undertook a massive transformation program, and we released a digital sales kit. Now understand that a company like us, they are very sales centric, right? What we do, we basically largely represent our business interest. When I say that business interest means that what can we do to enable our agents, our sales managers, our frontline executives to make their day and life better. Be it simply having all the, let's say, marketing collaterals available to them. We sell multiple of products, and each product would mean differently for each an individual, right? A ULIP for me would mean a lot of difference probably to you. Digital sales kit that we launched, it had every piece of information which a salesperson required to conduct any business activity.
Right.
You talked about the customer journey, right? So there are, if you have to look at to a life cycle, it starts from not only meeting a customer. Who would go and meet the customer? An agent, a frontliner, right? So it would probably start from the recruitment of an agent.
Correct.
So if you look at from that, so recruitment of an agent, having him onboarded, recruitment of my frontline sales executive, relationship manager or sales manager, agency managers that we say so, to train them, to make sure that they are adequately equipped with all the tools they would require to conduct a lot of other business activities. One is recruitment activity in itself. Then you talk about your sales calls. So how do you are not supposed to step out of your house. how are you going to conduct the call, right? So we enabled them with the communication platforms. Then what? Going one step further in terms of creating, the entire business journey online, generating your codes to, the entire e-app, making sure that they can pay it off, so on and so forth. And coming back the customer and then becoming lead and then lead again being done. So the entire cycle. So that's what we covered. We tried to kind of cover via the entire massive digital transformation process.
Yeah, so I think that's a great point at which to go to my next question, because so you spoke about the need to improve productivity for the frontline teams and the various metrics that you will need to track and the various capabilities that you need to provide for them. So very often there is a bit of a mismatch or a trade-off between those metrics and the metrics that you track at the sort of broader business and organizational level. So I just wanted to understand from your perspective, what are the metrics that you really feel should be tracked and also optimized for business growth as a whole? And what are the metrics that will sort of measure success for the frontline teams themselves, and what's the balance there?
During, when we talk about what platforms that we use, right?
Yeah.
Waymo as an example, or we have, many other tools that every sales manager or the business entity would use. Right? I don't think so that one set of metrics would basically do the justice of, announcing whether it was a success or not. Right? Taking Waymo as an example, what are the key metrics that we look at? Is it only the adoption and the engagement? Probably that wouldn't serve our purpose. Very frankly, we had a very interesting conversation with few of my colleagues, and in a very similar line, that you asked about that. What are the metrics? They asked me that, Alav, what is it that? Why should I use what I use?
Yeah.
Right. So forget about going to the metric. The first question would rather come as that the adoption. Right.
Correct.
So today, the biggest challenge for me would not be worrying much about how am I going to measure the success. It would be more in terms of how my team, my sales folks, going to use this platform or see this platform as a platform which can benefit them.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So the answer to probably, a question that what do I do differently to, or the topic of the seminar, I would say, is that why do they hate it so much?
Yeah.
Right? So it's not about that they hate it, but it's about that how do we make sure we love it?
Yeah.
Right. The key to that particular question would be in convenience. Why would somebody, today, me and you, right? We started using the digital wallet out of our own convenience because we didn't want to, we have jobs, right? We can't really afford to go to the bank every time we have to make a payment. Or we travel. I travel in a Mumbai local, right? I can't really afford to carry a lot of cash with me. What do I do?
Yeah.
I'm good with my phone. I'll pay it via the digital wallet.
Right.
Similarly, what is that one thing which will hook my salesperson or any of the salesperson to use the platform that we have? So the convenience for which I see would be different from what they see. For them, what is the key focus? Is it they're doing the business? They are bringing you the business. They are achieving the targets that you are giving it to me. Then why so rush about using a CRM or using a platform like Waymo or using any of the digital platforms that we built so far, right? So answering to that question would be, if you can answer, I think that's your metric. Right.
Yeah. And so what were the ways in which you went about talking to the team and sort of educating the team about the convenience that they would get out of it? Because I think very often with these digital transformation projects, it's the change management which is the challenging piece. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So in terms of change management, in two aspects, I wanted to sort of pick your brain on. Firstly, in terms of getting the alignment between the IT team and the business teams, right? What were the challenges there, if any? And what are the ways in which you can lay the groundwork for a successful transformation project? Because I think a lot of people listening in will be facing a lot of these alignment sort of questions. And the next is to make sure that the field teams, the users are all aligned on the benefits that the platform can give for them. So from your experience with Waymo itself and the other digital transformation projects that you're doing, if you can talk about both the business IT alignment plus the education of the field teams, and what are some best practices that we could sort of think about on those regards? Yeah.
It reminds me of a very famous dialogue of one of the Vidya Balan movies. It says that Bollywood में सिर्फ तीन चीजें बिकती है, right? Entertainment, entertainment, and entertainment, right?
Right.
Here, I would like to answer your second question first.
Okay.
The answer is training, and training.
Yeah.
Right. So going back to your first, you rightly said that the alignment between the business and IT is something which is very crucial.
Yeah.
Reasons, they both really don't understand each other. When they claim that they do, but the reality is something different.
Yeah.
Right. While we were going through the entire digital transformation and all, I, with due respect to the sales team, I see a lot of inputs with very, what do you call it, with such an interest and such a kind of a their entire willingness towards the entire project that they wanted to help in. And then they started talking about some of the jargons which IT would use. Let's do API integration. Okay. Let's do SSO integration. Does it really mean that would help much? Probably no. Right? When we went to IT, again, with due respect, they would see that this is something what we have built and business would love to use it. This is how it has to be. And when we really, in the reality, when we really go to the business team and we ask whether is this something what you really want? And then, the expression would be very different from what we were expecting. Right. So what is it that we can do? It's that it has to be, so the strategy that we followed, that the key transformation, whenever we are making any of the outline, we would go back to field time and time again.
Okay.
We would go to them and saying that, hey, this is what the problem that we have identified. Do you really think, first question, do you really think that this is the problem? So it starts with that. They would come back and say that, hey, Alap, you have understood business very well, but I don't think so this is the reality that you are speaking. The problem may not be the A that you have identified, but it may be A plus B. Why didn't you look at it? We go back, change some solution, go back to the field and say that, hey, this is what it looks like. Do you think it's agreeable? Then they would say yes. We go back to IT and say that this is what the problem statement looks like. Do you think that we have a solution? IT for sure would come up with their own. If they don't have a solution, they would bring in a lot of technology partners like Waymo and say that this is what we are trying to propose. We go back to the field and say that, hey, this is what the solution to your problem looks like. Do you now think it's something what is, which is making really sense? So this to and fro between IT and business is something which has led to bringing a platform which is acceptable by both. IT now knows the exact requirement what a business needs, and business now basically understand that, or rather start expecting what is it going to come out as, right? This is the alignment that we have tried to come in. Rather, we have kind of achieved in terms of between the IT and the business. Then the question moves when the real challenge comes when the solution is ready and implemented.
Yeah.
Yes, it is now fantastic. It is looking exactly what I had asked for. But hey, I don't want to use it. Why? No, I had these challenges to use it. I don't know how to use it. My folks don't. So and frankly speaking, so all of their reasons are valid.
Right.
Okay. We say that I've got you a mobile app. It is fantastic. Okay. What app that you have made is, I've made it for iOS. Hey, but I have an Android phone. Or I made it for both. I'm little smart Okay, fine. I know that a lot of people use both Android and iPhone. Okay, I have made it, which is only, kind of available for certain versions and above. All of my team members don't have that particular baseline phone, right? Then internet. Thanks to a gentleman, a genius, businessman in the country. Now internet is available to everyone, almost everyone, at a very cheap cost, right?
Right.
But it took us a time in terms of reaching that. So now we don't see the internet as much of a challenge, right?
Yeah.
So we have evolved in terms of what are the challenges are, right?
Right.
So when we do this to and fro, the next step comes in terms of that we have everything. Still, what is it that is missing? So that comes the answer which I talked about, referring to the famous dialogue. We have to train them. We have to train them day in, day out. We have to train them. We have to. It's like, how we have to consider, and there's no, I don't know. There's no answer to it.
Yeah.
We, both of you, would have made the platform, right? So we think that it's just a platform. But salesperson, now imagine this, that today I came up with a solution named Vimo, fantastic CRM, does everything what a business person, a salesperson would require. So, but still, adoption. Why is there someone who is not being able to do? I mean, they use the facility, use the platform to the greatest extent that we wanted them to use it at.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So I think this is my take in terms of that. The two questions that you put forward.
Yeah. So I think that's a great answer, and so I think it's a lot of constant feedback loops. So I think a digital transformation leader has to, I think, play this very fine balancing act, right? They need to know to speak the language of IT, of business, and make them see eye to eye. So there is no shortcut answer to this, but it's just being aware of the various different contexts, being able to communicate their concerns. And so like you said, as a training.
Correct.
So you spoke about adoption, and I also did want to spend a question on that, I think, before we reach the last few minutes of our conversation. So with Vimo itself, adoption has been one of the success stories for Generali. So in the month of July, I'm looking at the numbers, 88% so daily active usage. How has this so large adoption helped you to achieve your broader business goals? So what do you think that this can drive further down the line by having significant adoption of the platform?
We also had the challenges. I also have one of the questions put forward in front of me, that what are the challenges that we have faced while digitizing our business processes. So let's take this as an example, right?
Sure.
What are the key challenges that I face while implementing one of the CRMs in my company? Okay.
Right.
There are different school of thoughts. One says that, hey, I am doing business, which is the key, aspect of why I'm here, right? You want me to get you the numbers. I am doing it. You asked me to reach to X target. I have crossed it and reached to Y. Then why would you need a lead management tool or an activity management tool or a CRM for me to kind of, fill up every day? Right? It's a straight away answer. Like, yeah, you are doing it. But now the second school of thought says that if we do so, if we start using it, is there a possibility that we would be not only doing an X plus Y, but X plus Y plus Z? Will it help you in terms of going from, or rather doing the business the way that you are doing in a much better, smarter, faster way? Right? The one team leader says that I am seeing two different challenges. So one of my team leaders, he stated with an example that I am seeing a difference with the sales, so the agency managers who are using Vimo and the ones who are not using Vimo. There's no correlation. in his team.
Hmm.
Other leader says that there is an inverse, that there is a correlation, right? And both of the team leaders were fantastic. They are the top two leaders in the entire country, right? So what do we do? Both of them are right. Both of their arguments are also right. They are both achieving their numbers and targets, probably overachieving it. How do we? So that's the challenge. That's the reality challenge. That's the reality stuff, right? And the answer to it is that how do you align yourself? Is it something that you think is going to be, because at an organization level, we have a way forward. We have an aspiration to. Aspiration may not be only the numbers. Aspiration can also be the way that we are achieving the numbers. We have certain processes, we have standard practices that we would like to follow.
Right.
In a way, strategy, right? So when we are applying the digital transformation strategy, there are certain amount of thoughts that have been put behind. And these small actions would basically lead us to achieve that greater good. Today, at an individual level, at a CRM, like I remember the first leg of my career wherein every day I used to put in, I have to fill in the DSR, right? Daily sales report. And I used to go, like so, nuts about like, why do I need it? I am doing what you are asking me. Why must my data will be used somewhere? You will give it to somebody else. Why should I, pass on my leads and my contacts to you? Your company would do whatever. Right? But over a period of time, when we learn that this is something which will be helpful to me only, I can go back and retrospect that what did I do? Now everyone has a capacity to do better, right? There's always a scope of improvement. Until you know what has been so far, you will not be able to identify those scope of improvement. Right. So my submission to that, this particular question and to your two is that it gives us the chance to retrospect, not you as an individual, but also as a company, that how we are doing what we are doing.
I think that's a fantastic point of view.
Sorry. Yeah, I lost you.
Yeah. So is my voice audible now?
Yeah.
So I think that's, it makes a lot of sense. And that sort of takes me to my next question as well, which is in terms of trying to find the balance between short-term sort of achievements in terms of ROI and the longer-term objectives that you will have in terms of driving business transformation. So there is sometimes a bit of a risk that you will miss the wood for the trees. What are the ways in which you can make sure that you have these sort of gated achievements in the short term, but at the same time that sort of does not take your focus away from what you want to achieve longer term? I mean, what would be a guidance on how to sort of draw this balance between short term and longer term transformation objectives? I mean, is that a strong answer, or is it something
very difficult question for me to answer, very frankly, because it's basically a perspective. I would rather say it's a perspective. That as I, my bio says that I strongly believe in a statement that technology is a perception, and you have to have it right for you to resonate to the success. Unless you can't, right? At a 30,000 feet level, at a very macro level, if you are envisaging something to be, I'm sure that when you do a micromanagement, you will face certain difficulties. But if you take a cognizance of what you are supposed to do in the next 5 years or a longer period of time, and then take an action on your short-term goal, I think that would make you yourself aligned to a larger goal.
Okay,
I don't know whether I have answered the question correctly or not.
Yeah.
No, Alap, you did really, throw some light on that. But there's a lot of chatter which we have seen in social media, right? That one of the major challenges that insurers need to adapt rapidly at scale, and that while working remotely, is that meeting the customer requirements, right? With the entire pandemic, we saw the number of queries, how they went up. of this was happening while insurers themselves struggling to digitize their processes and make sure the NPS does not go down. So if you were to assume that the main priority for digital transformation, how do you help in building an agile process to make that happen?
So, Gunjan, I lost you in between. So, presuming that your question is that how do we make sure that we are agile enough to decertify customers' needs in terms of buying an insurance policy? Is that what your question is?
That's right. Yeah.
Very valid point, and we have seen it. We have seen it that customer has been facing a lot of challenges, specifically during this pandemic, that they have not been able to meet, or rather, they have not been able to use their traditional and comfortable mean of buying an insurance policy. Right. The answer to the question would be again similar to what we discussed earlier in this session. That what is it that you are equipping your business team with? Okay, what does a customer want? He wants to meet you. Okay. Is it okay that, and obviously with this challenges of health and concerns around the COVID, you also understand that as a customer also understand that meeting may not be possible in person. But is it okay to meet online? Is it okay? Okay. Now the moment the word online comes, there are a lot of red flags which goes up saying that, hey, it's all digital. I don't know who's there, and some fraud happening, this, that. Okay. Is it okay that there's an official communication coming from a company's email address? If there is a link which is attached to that particular communication, if it is an invite and there you can see a live person in front of you talking to you, trying to explain to you what you want. These are all the kind of a little comforts that we started seeing from the customers, and then the acceptance of it. Right. You might have met the persons earlier, and then so that you already have a kind of a connect with them. Can we now work on that connect a little bit more? Can we kind of nudge them towards coming online on a camera, probably just me on the camera, not the customer, right? And then try to kind of build up a relationship from there. Don't be into hurry in terms of selling it on the first go on the online meeting. That's not going to happen for sure, right? So even in the leads and the activities and the meetings that we have been recording on Vymo, we would see that a lot of meetings are online, right? Not face to face, but online meetings. Which took some time. The customers also took some time to be comfortable around it. Right? When a customer say that I'm not comfortable, take it that they are not comfortable. Try to work around in terms of providing them the comfort that how can they be okay about coming online, buying an insurance policy.
A great point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Roshan has a question as well, Gunjan. I think Roshan just joined and he had a question, so maybe we can take.
No, I've been listening for a while. Sorry, guys. I mean, I had my second vaccine just about half hour back. I mean, it got delayed. So very insightful conversation so far. And just to add to whatever you've been saying, Alap, I think the way insurers have adapted over the last year, right, has been phenomenal. Really, I myself have bought a few policies, renewed a bunch as well, and this is across the industry as well, right? They've been very proactive. My question is around an earlier point that you brought up regarding business and IT alignment. It's one of my favorite subjects, right? And I love the quote that you mentioned, technology is a perception, because I feel like sometimes we get lost in the nuts and bolts of things and we lose the end aims of what we're trying to do, really, right? Because the end user does not care about whether it's a low-tech or high-tech solution. He or she cares about what it can help the person achieve, right? So do you see that the pandemic has sort of changed IT and business attitudes, and do you see that IT now is sort of driving a lot of these initiatives? They're more closely aligned with the business at this point of time. Do you see that happen?
Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. We have seen the way that business talk about IT.
Okay.
Right. So I mean, now they are comfortable. Now they are comfortable talking about a digital platform, right? They may not be as knowledgeable or expert in terms of the technology, but they are the one, as you rightly said, they are the one who's gonna use it. So for me, the whole reason that I would have gone to at least 5 times to the field before I, even confirm on my requirements to the IT is the very same thing. I wanted them to be involved in the process. Gone are the days wherein I sit at the office, make a platform, give it to them in terms of, jao ji lo apni zindagi. That's not going to happen, right? So now what is it that forget about low tech or high tech. They also now people understand. Now my sales folks ask me the questions about technology. They have evolved. So when you say that has there been a change? Yes, there has been a definite change. The reason is that now they are so closely working with the technology because they have realized that it's going to help you. Now, which platform they would adopt, which platform they would have challenges in terms of adopting, they are subjective questions. We would have to answer to them in their own regard. And again, as we rightly, as being pointed out earlier, that the challenge coming from two different individuals cannot be dealt in a very similar fashion.
Correct.
So forget about my team North versus team South. It could be two gentlemen in the same branch. Right? And the answer lies somewhere in that how do you tackle, how do you train, how do you explain the larger goals that we have for the organization to them, and how their individual small effort, how are they individually contributing to the larger, goal that we have.
Right. I think you hit upon a very interesting point, right, which is this whole personalization at scale. I think there's a huge difference between the applications that we use in our personal lives versus our professional lives. Like Uber doesn't work the same way for you as it does for me, right? Swiggy doesn't work the same way for you as it does for me, right? But then here we are thrusting this solution on people and expecting them to use it perhaps in one of the most important aspects of their life, right? Their work and their livelihood. So yeah, I mean that's a very interesting point.
No, it's actually an interesting question. It's a very interesting question. Now, you talk about Google and Swiggy and Uber, whatever, not working very similarly for you versus me, right? The main reason that we all know of that they consume our data. They have the, their very high tech algorithms working on, in the back end and giving you your, as per your needs, right? Now take a user, a sales manager or an agency manager as a user, okay? He would have, although we say that it's a personal versus professional and all, but what we don't realize is that he use app as an app. Now, currently in his own mobile application, there would be hundreds of applications. Few would be of professional, mail, Teams, Zoom, your CRM and whatnot, right? Some would be the personal applications, which would include your WhatsApp and Facebook and Instagram, social media, Paytm and Google, whatever, whatnot, right? Now, he subconsciously, he sees everything as the same. And that's where the real challenge in terms of why the adoption is not there as we are expecting comes in. I am every day morning, I'm opening WhatsApp. I would have been spending a lot of time chatting with my friends. And then I suddenly, all of a sudden, I have to go back to my office application, which will not be as, maybe user friendly, maybe heavy, maybe not as swift, maybe very lengthy processes to complete. मैंने पे करना है, एक डिजिटल वॉलेट खोला, स्कैन किया, पिन डाला, मेरा पेमेंट हो गया. बट मुझे कस्टमर के पास से पेमेंट कलेक्ट करने के पहले कम से कम 100 पेजेस पर जाने पड़ेंगे. Then my mind replies in this, hey, this seems not to be a very good application.
No, it's a very important point. Yeah.
Again, I have been, we all have been reading about this, is that don't share your personal things, don't share OTPs, don't share this, don't, At the end of it, in the office application, we ask them everything to share. Tell me who all that you have spoken with. What are they? Where are they staying? Give their numbers, give their, addresses. So what my belief is that there is a clash in terms of since the line between personal and professionalism is something which has gone really, really blurred. And we operate everything out of the same device.
Correct.
Makes it more difficult to kind of to resolve.
Right. No, I think even today, I think the address book is the number one used application perhaps on the phone, right? I mean, most people would live out of their address book, right? And that's a very important nuance that you bring out, right? Which is that also that if you compare the personal versus the professional aspects, right? I mean, or the apps as such, I think there is this nuance of give before you ask, right? If you look at the Ubers and the Swiggies and whatever it is, they give before they ask anything, right? I mean, they already add value to you before they ask you 100 things. Fill this field, fill this field, fill this field.
That's right? Your perception. That's your perception. Right. May not be true to probably me or people out here.
Right. So possible, but yeah, I was saying there's a fundamental shift in the mindset itself of how some of these apps are designed itself, like for personal and for work, which could impact adoption, of course. Yeah.
Oh, so I was reading something very interestingly that Tinder, right? I'm sure that a lot of people would have at least heard, if not used, right? Now that app, the UI is said to be designed based on an experiment which was done in 1965.
Interesting.
There was an experiment on pigeons. So there were 2 pigeons kept in 2 different boxes, and when there are different buttons drawn. Now one pigeon would be given the food only every time when the pigeon go and kind of pick at the button, and then the food will be delivered. The other guy would be given the food very randomly, irrespective of how many number of times that he has gone and kind of pricked that.
Right.
The second pigeon who was given the food irregularly, he went on a frenzy of for some 8 odd hours before he was given the food. Meaning, and it was very beautifully explained by whosoever have done it, that the idea, or rather the fun in the journey itself is higher than reaching out to the destination. And that's where the Tinder's algo is based on. That you keep on swiping till the point that you get a match.
Right.
At one side, when you spend about 12 to 14 hours on a single device in your hand, majority of the time is being spent on such kind of very thoughtfully made application. What is the one that we have? I know that it's going to be for my bread and butter, but it's not comparable. And unfortunately, both of them are right in face of each other.
Are on the same device.
Me, has anyone taught you how to use a Facebook or a Paytm or a banking or an internet banking? Have you taken a class on terms of how to use internet banking when it was launched?
No, not really.
It just came naturally. No, not really. No, not at all.
Not at all. Yeah.
Yeah, but we expect that our trainers should teach us every application that is being launched in the organization. Why? Because of their involvement. Because of how you perceive an application. Because how you perceive a technology which would help you at what level. Right.
No, that is right. That's right. Yeah. So I know we're kind of running out of time. I had one last question for you, right? I mean, so as it is, a manager's job is hard enough, right? But it has been complicated, I think 10x or perhaps 100x by the whole remote aspect of things, right? People don't come into offices as much. There's not enough learning through osmosis that used to happen back in the day, right? Or the water cooler conversations or the chai conversations, so on and so forth.
Absolutely, I'm missing those.
Yeah, exactly, right? So how do you sort of recreate that office floor atmosphere in your team, and how do you make sure that you understand what's happening?
sorry to disappoint, but I don't want, and I can't do that. I can't do that on Teams. I can't have a really, a water cooler conversation on Teams. Hey, can you come on Teams? I want to gossip with you. Sorry, not possible. I
Yeah.
really wish that as soon as early that we can be back to my office. Like really.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think that's a wish all of us have. That I think we're missing some of the spontaneity of work, right? I mean, everything seems to be programmed. Everything seems to be on the calendar these days,
Yeah. So
right?
it's a kind of a dilemma that what is good or what is not. But it seems that we have been missing what we were claiming to be very very gruesome day for us.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll settle on a good hybrid going forward, right? Whenever that
Look
is.
forward. Look
So
forward. I think
yeah,
there was a question which I could see. I mean, more interest in designing and testing, but there is no
Uh,
guidance for me. Okay, so probably offline, if you could, connect with any one of us, probably we can help you the best that we can.
I think there's a question on YouTube Live. Muskan, do you want to post the
Yeah.
question?
Hi, Alap. So there's a question on YouTube. They are asking why there is such a huge gap in adoption of a work app versus a social app. And is it like the notion that what is in it for me, or is it something more than that affects their decision?
I actually had an answer while I was speaking. I was actually thinking. I was looking for this question to come up. As we say that while I was giving the example of the pigeon experiment, that the fun lies in the journey, right? We get excited in terms of an anticipation of getting a match or anticipation of doing something, right? We forget about what's going to happen later, right? While the work app, we only look at to the end. Oh, I have to do that, because of that I have to do this. So we kind of compartmentalize ourselves in a way that when we open the work app, we have a notion within ourselves that, hey, this is going to be boring.
It's going to be work.
It's going to be work. It's going to be work. I don't know what to do about it, right? So It's like, a notification pops up and it says, message from your boss. What now? So we have already killed the excitement in the journey before we open that email. You might not know there's a incremental letter coming to you. A very hypothetical situation, I know that, but we never think about it. While a notification on your social app, it's the butterflies in your stomach. Oh shit, who has not fixed it?
It's a dopamine hit, right?
Yeah, was it a match? So that's the answer.
Right.
I think on that note, I think one of the things that we are doing at Vimo is to also incorporate aspects like leaderboards and motivations and so on as part of our roadmap, to give a little bit of the dopamine hit as part of the professional app as well. So I think that is sort of the direction that we're trying to move towards. But great points. So I think we've reached the end of the hour. So thanks a lot, Alap. I think this was a very insightful conversation, and thanks Roshan as well for some great questions at the end.
Thank you so much, Alap. This was amazing. I caught the last 30-40 minutes of the conversation. I'm sorry I joined late, but fantastic having you on the, having you here with us today. And would love to chat again for sure.
My pleasure, Roshan and Varun. Thank you, Gunjan, Muskan, to arrange this lovely introduction. And absolutely, Roshan, the vaccination takes all the priority. So
Sure.
I'm very happy that you could kind of, get your second jab. I'm away from it, so looking forward to that particular day. And love to engage to all of you, all the participants. Thank you so much for being here, taking up your time. I am available on LinkedIn anytime if you want to get in touch. I'm very happy to be there. Thank you all so much once again for this lovely introduction.
Thanks a lot, everyone, and thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot, Arnab. Thanks, Roshan, Varun, for driving this conversation. I'm sure folks who joined us had a lot to take back with them. But also what we'll be doing is we'll be sharing a copy with all the people who have registered and attended this webinar. So, and also be chopping this entire session into consumable content bites. which will, will focus on the main points that we discussed today. But yeah, thanks a lot. I'll have some really interesting points on, the reason why B2C apps are more successful than B2B, right, and how that experience will be shortly changing for everyone. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you around and we'll be in touch. Thank you so much, everyone.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Have a good day.
Bye.